Hello, friends. Today we are going to listen to the story of the novel The Heart of the Matter, written by Graham Greene. First, we will make uh, an understanding of the story, which is about a character, Henry Scobie, who is a police officer in the British West Africa during World War II. It is about the fortunes of this man who loves God above all. He is a Catholic, and in the observation of his faith, he happens to stumble over a few things, and whether consciously and largely unconsciously, he makes a few mistakes, which every man does. And that is the heart of the matter. At the core of everything, we are all composites. We are all uh, uh, composed of the matter, the five elements. And at the heart of it is our faith. Because we believe that we are of the matter, so at the heart of the matter is the existence. हम सभी कुछ कुछ विचार रखते हैं, कुछ आस्थाएं रखते हैं, और उन आस्थाओं के पालन में कभी गलती भी हो सकती है. तो क्या केवल गलतियों को जज करेंगे? And with this idea, and there is a kind of autobiographical note in this novel because it has much to do with the personal life of Graham Greene, who was a Catholic and who also was in the knowledge of the errors that he knew he should be making. But the central character in this novel, Henry Scobie, has been presented at large, and which is every man rather, and not only Henry Scobie, who, when he is divided on the idea of faith and observation of faith, how does he react to things and what can happen? So, not doing much ado about the analysis, let us first understand or have an overview of the plot of the novel. So, this Henry Scobie, who is a police officer, is married to Louise, who is an intellectual woman, because she is in love with literature and writes down poetry. But very unfortunately for them, they have lost their one daughter, only daughter, Catherine, some years ago. Actually, Scobie loves his wife and he wants to keep her happy. But this love is in a way not a love of dedication, because there are differences in their thought processes. Scobie being very down to earth and Louis being slightly romantic in her attitude, and because she loves literature, so she has a different opinion of life. And when Scobie is not given the due, when he is passed over for the commissioner's position, because there are some kind of rumors about him, about his infidelity and corruption, So when this happens and he's not given the due, Louis, his wife, is actually frustrated and she wants to go away from here and live in a place of isolation where she may not be able to hear about this state of affairs about her husband. While this is on and Scobie is trying very hard to get his wife adjusted somewhere in South Africa, a young man by the name Wilson enters in. This Wilson, when he gets in touch with Scobie as a friend, but somehow he happens to develop a stronger friendship with Louis, and because their love for poetry, their love for poetry is same. Wilson loves poetry and Louis loves poetry, which brings them together, and Wilson starts feeling a kind of affection, a kind of love for for Louis, who doesn't think that way. She is staunch Catholic and would not do anything that will deter her from the following of the faith. Now, because Scobie has not been able to get the required promotion, but he tries to put his wife in happiness, and to fulfill her desire to go to South Africa, he actually seeks a loan from the bank which is denied to him. And when his loan application fails, and driven by the strong desire to keep his wife happy, he actually goes on to seek a loan from a notorious man by the name Yusuf. This Yusuf is a Syrian trader who gives him money. And because he does it for the simple reason that the illegal trade that he is doing, in that Scobie could be a help because he is from the police department. The money is given, and with this money, Scobie sends his wife to the desired destination of West African colony. Now, while she is away, somehow Scobie happens to meet a girl who is very young and who is named Helen, because she is shipwrecked and because she is in miserable shape. So the good man in Scobie drives him to offer every help that he can to this desperate girl, Helen. And this relationship grows strong to the extent that religion would not allow. And while this is going on, Helen actually also knows that Scobie is married, and she presses Scobie to divorce his wife, which Scobie does not want to do. Here is the conflict. Though he is driven towards Helen for her nature, which he feels he can accommodate with, and though he is not very much in love with his wife, but that his wife stays at the back of his mind. And at the heart of the matter is the fact that he becomes a person who is drawn with equal force at the two poles. One, his bond with his wife, and the other, his duty, which he feels is his duty to this girl, Helen, who has no one to call her own. This continues, and the strife grows because Helen is all the time constantly pressing upon him the need to divorce his wife, and somehow a turn comes in their lives, in their conflicting state of affairs, that Louis wants to come back. This is now going to be a trouble, because Scobie and Helen may not continue with the relationship that they have come to have. In the meantime, also, Wilson, who had come there and had tried to be friendly with Louis, this man is actually spying on the state of affairs, that from where did Scobie get the money to send his wife. And he is able to just come to terms with the state of affairs that Scobie has been unloyal to his job, unfaithful to his job, when um, when Louis has decided to come back. So Scobie is now in a trauma. The idea of not leaving Helen, the idea of Louis coming back, an idea and a sense, strong sense of being spied. He is driven to more anxiety, so much so that he starts disbelieving his very faithful attendant Ali, who actually has really served him with great care, and also Scobie trusted him. Now, all this trauma that has come to occupy Scobie's being, he voices it in front of Yusuf. And Yusuf somehow offers the idea of having Scobie rid from the suspected spy, that is Ali. And unwittingly, Scobie becomes instrumental in having the killing of Ali performed. Yusuf kills Ali, which actually Scobie had not wanted. Scobie had only sensed the fear of the Ali having turned a spy. Now, at the death of Ali, he is so remorse stricken that the Catholic in him surfaces once again, and he goes and makes a confession with the local priest, Father Rank. Father Rank says that he is going to pray for his suffering soul, and in the meantime, Louis is back. As Louis comes in, Helen has to leave, and Scobie then, driven by the idea, driven by a sense of duty to care for Helen also, is in a great tormentation. Now, this conflict in his heart of having wronged both Louis on one hand, his wife, and Helen on the other, and also that he had unwittingly got the killing of Ali done, he thinks it best to commit suicide. Because of the sickness that he is having, a doctor administers some medicine, but he cuts down the doses of the medicine and keeps them aside, so that one day he may consume a large amount of these medicines, and which will make his suicide appear like a death. And he is successful in doing so. He consumes medicines one night when he cannot take this tormentation any further, and he dies. When he dies, it is believed that it is condemnation of his soul because he has taken his life as against the wish of God. But Father Rank justifies that it was right for him. It was not very wrong for him to have taken his own life because his tormentation and his genuine love for God, it was that which caused him the abrupt ending of his life. Father Rank gently reminds Louis that they cannot judge Scobie's heart and that whatever the rules of church are, whatever the rules are for a real Catholic to follow, there are times, there are circumstances when there should be a relaxation. And only Father Rank is so confirmed about the doings of Scobie that he in fact states that Scobie loved God more than anyone else, even himself. That he is a police officer, he performs his duty as much as he can. But his wife doesn't accommodate to the idea of his not having been allowed the promotion due. And she also feels that he is being untrue to his duty and therefore she wants to go away, which Scobie actually appropriates at any cost. Then, when he sees the girl Helen in distress, he goes to every extent to help her. But somehow his grieving heart, the heart that knows that he is not able to get the legitimate, the due promotion and the tormentation that he is going over, that cause him to give a kind of protection and a patronizing attitude to Helen. Also, he loved Ali very much. He only was tormented by the idea, what if his relations with Yusuf are disclosed now that he was a commissioner? Why this idea of falling in esteem of the government that had entrusted on him that job, he misses the mark. He just starts feeling, and it is very natural, a heart would definitely be tormented, and when it is the heart that is in agony, people tend to do what they ought not to do. A kind of solace is solicited somehow. And thinking that there was no one else for him who would understand, he just voices it. But when Ali is killed, he thinks himself a sinner. When his wife is arriving, he knows it very right for him to put a breach in the relationship that he had with Helen. And Helen also parts. But when she parts, he carries that guilt on him. So he is more a guilty man, a man so much driven with the idea of having wronged many people unwittingly that he feels that this body is not needed. It should come to an end. And that is what that causes him to put an abrupt end to his life. So, we see Scobie as a divided man. A man divided between his duty for the world and where he ceases to perform duty to himself. It is only at the end of the novel, when he decides that he cannot take, his body cannot take this tormentation any further, does he put an end. So, what is there at the heart of the matter of this novel? At the heart of the matter of this novel, the heart of the matter lies in everybody, Scooby. Let us, now that I have apprised you of the outline story, we will try to see the character sketch of Scooby. Though the story that we have listened to today is in fact all the actions, all the the actions in this novel are all from Kobe. He takes the stimulus from the outside world and reacts as a man would, as a man given to the, the commands of the flesh would do. But Scooby is different. Though he seems to be acting on the needs of the flesh, on the fleshly desires, but he is more towards fulfillment of his duty towards his the people around him. His sense of duty, his sense of affection for everyone around is so strong that he ceases to be affectionate to himself. So we'll study further. This is all for today. Thank you.